This is the most important thing when it comes to a client service business. And if you don't understand this, then this is why your business will fail. And you'll just have to keep finding new clients all the time. Now, this is specifically for service based businesses and people that generally struggle to maintain the same clients, maintain a good churn, as it's referred to in the industry, basically the rate at which you lose clients. And the reason people actually lose clients to begin with, ever, is for this reason. And I do want to dive into a story of my experience with losing clients and with keeping clients, and how I've maintained the longest relationships I've had, and how I've not maintained some relationships that have not been as long as the others. So, to begin with, obviously, I kind of want to dive into my journey in a service based type of business. So, obviously, at the beginning, for me, I started out freelancing, and over in basically over the last sort of 18 months is when it was properly going on, but really in the last year. And I started out basically as a freelance social media manager. And I mean, technically, it was in an old job I had with a great company in my local area that I was the social media manager for. And I'd learned a lot about marketing at that time. I was learning a lot about kind of just human nature, psychology, and learning a lot around that like year mark ish, around 2021 that happened, and I was learning a lot. And that was a great lesson for me in learning about kind of human nature, human psychology, which was great for me in marketing and helping with social media. But it also helped me a lot in understanding clients and how to maintain, a good kind of roster of clients, as you'd call it. Now, the one word here I'm not actually saying is the most important word out of all of this, and that is the relationship, because that is the most important part when it comes to a service based business. And it's what I've learned now through trial and error, through obviously being a freelancer was different because it was more one off projects. But the one thing I've learned about now working with multiple clients and through, you know, working with different types of people, and I've now been fortunate to work with some great small businesses. I've been fortunate enough to make content for like some of the biggest influencers, and it's been amazing to make this content, just be able to have content that has my business being responsible for it. I'm proud of that and grateful for the opportunities. But if it wasn't for good client relationships, great client relationships, these wouldn't have lasted. And I can't act like I'm some sort of master of client relations, because I've barely been doing this. I mean, in terms of an actual like business, I've barely been doing it for, it's not like it's been 2, 3 years or whatever. And even then, you're still new. And I am looking forward to continuously learning more lessons about client relations and understanding how it all works. So, for me, the biggest thing has been understanding the importance of client relationships. And I think at the beginning, it was a great time because I was reflecting on older client relations that, hadn't gone so well, or kind of one off projects that could have gone better. And just generally kind of my own punctuality when it came to kind of service delivery and delivering on projects and kind of tweaks and that type of thing I'd done. And so the big thing for me at the beginning was, when I started my business, I was reflecting on client relations, and I was so focused on just starting a great relationship with the clients and building that trust straight away. And that's the biggest piece of advice I can ever give to anyone. Starting a service based business is establishing trust, building rapport, and like any sales position, I guess. Trust, rapport, and just generally building if you want to build a long-term relationship with somebody, it's the same with like any friendship or relationship. You're building a long-term relationship with that person. It might not be because they're a friend or in a serious intimate relationship, but if it's like a business to business thing and you're helping them grow, they're helping you grow, you're helping each other grow, and it's a long-term, strong bond and relationship you've got. And so you should treat it like that. And you shouldn't be trying to, like, you know, the same way you wouldn't, you know, treat a friend any differently or treat a family member any differently. I treat my clients like distant family almost at this point, and I've kind of always treated them that way because it's having that bond and that relationship with them that gives you the trust, and it has that rapport. And ultimately, for me, one of the biggest lessons is I'm always there for them and they're always there for me. And I think that's what's helped me maintain relationships that have lasted for months and months, is because when I am there for them, they're there for me. And it's just like a great friendship, really. It's like a great brotherhood, or, brother and sister, whatever it might be. It's like a long distance family member for me personally that I've not known for long. Like, I've known for years and years and years, and they're coming to work with me now finally. And it's been like that for me. So the biggest piece of advice I can give to anyone, whether you're starting out, whether you've been in it for a long time, is focus on the relationship. And I can give you some examples of this actually, because there have been some situations where we screwed up and, content wasn't delivered on time. And that was because, people were ill and, stuff was behind. And so I was actually doing the edits that day, for instance. I was, making sure that people were aware of the delay. And because we had made the mistake and we weren't punctual enough with letting people know, yes, there was a hiccup and they weren't as happy as usual, but because of the relationship we had, they did not take it as bad as they would have if we didn't have the relationship that we had and that I'd built with them. And so by having that relationship, they were like, this, we don't want this to happen again, but we trust you and we know you. And that's why if it was any other kind of agency or anything else, they'd be like, we don't want this to happen again. Is this going to happen again? But we're probably going to part ways now because this, we don't want to work with this level of punctuality, and we thought we trusted you. And so by having that trust already and by having the relationship, it allows you to, in a way, almost like a Monopoly get out of jail free card. And you don't want to use it as that, but in those moments where anything could happen, you bet your ass that you wish you had that great relationship, because you never ever ever want a moment like that to happen, and you should never wish to have that card in case it happens. But having the great relationship is what can save the business sometimes, because especially in the case that most agencies as well, you will typically have the minority of your customers being the 80% of your revenue of your business. You'll typically have, if you have 10 clients, 2 or 3 of them will be responsible for 80% of the revenue and 80% of the profits in that case as well, because they'll be the ones that you have like a commission base for their ad spend or their return on ads or whatever it might be, or whatever it might be. And you're making, if you're making 50k a month as an agency, 25 30k of that is from their ads alone or whatever it might be. So focusing on the relationship is the biggest thing you can do when it comes to a service-based business. And I think for customer facing businesses, or where it's just a customer, still building a relationship. Amazon has a relationship with every customer, because I was actually talking to a friend about this recently. It's kind of the policy of the business to make sure that the customer has the best experience possible. I think Jeff Bezos always mentions that as well. It's like, if you don't, I think he said this in interviews and quotes before, that if you care about the customer, if you care about the client, your business is always going to be healthy, because you're going to be growing, you're always going to be having cash flow, and you're always going to have a long-term healthy business. Because if you care about the customer or the client, then you care about, and then they will have lifetime value with you, and lifetime value is the most important part of a healthy business, with customers or clients. So the takeaway from this is obviously focus on the relationship with your customers and your clients. More important for client relations, for long-term relationships, but still having a healthy and positive attitude towards your customers with sales customers when it's just one-off purchases consistently. Make the customer happy, make them love your service, even if they have a negative experience with you. Make sure it ends positively in their benefit so that they want to come back and shop with you again. It's the same if you end a client relationship. If it's not gone well, make sure it ends on a positive, because kind of leading into this, actually, I want to end on what word of mouth is and the importance of word of mouth, because with any client or customer, with a service-based business or a product-based business, word of mouth is the most powerful form of marketing. And when you're beginning, you're typically going to be just cold outreaching people, trying to get clients or customers. When you get them, positive word of mouth is what gets your next ones. Positive recommendations. There is no amount of ad spend on any social media platform or any billboard ad or anything that can compete with a positive recommendation. Because one person knows, maybe, say one person can spread a positive word about your business to 100 people, right? And then 100 people become potential customers. So one person can convert 50 people potentially into potential customers. So that's a 50x return on word of mouth. If one customer costs you, maybe, at the beginning it costs you 10 hours of your time to acquire a customer. Let's say it costs you £1,000 to acquire a customer, and their lifetime value with you is a year. So maybe £1,000 retainer, £12,000. So the cost is 1,000, so £11,000 in revenue for you, right? So £11,000 that can end with a positive recommendation. 11,000 can turn into, if in theory it was £1,000 to acquire a customer, £50,000 worth of customer acquisition cost for you, or client acquisition cost in this case. So £1,000 that turned into a year's relationship with a positive outcome, or a positive, goodbye, turned into a positive recommendation for people, or that one client that maybe not even left, maybe they just carried on with you, but either way, £1,000 turns into 50,000. You're never going to get a 50x return. Even if it was 10% of the 100, you're never going to get a 10x return on any ad spend. Most ad spend on social media is, best case scenario, 2 to 3, maybe 5 times at most. Best case scenario, 5 times normally, 7 times if it's insanely highly profitable. But normally 2 to 3 times on social media ad spend. So word of mouth is so powerful. So the relationship, whether it ends or it doesn't, but a great relationship will always maintain a good, a long-term relationship. Building a strong relationship will help you keep long-term clients and customers. If they do end, though, it will always be positive recommendations, and one person can recommend so many people that will be so much more effective than ad spend. So keep that in mind. Always focus on those two, the relationship and the word of mouth. And it all starts with the relationship anyway. So I hope this helps, whether you're in a product-based business or a service-based business. Focus on the customer or the client and the relationship, and everything else will work out better in the long run. So I hope that helps, and thanks for listening, and hope you have a great day. Thanks for watching.